Hello, and welcome to Pressing Buttons. I'm Hugo.
I'm Nick.
Another great week, another great episode coming at you. Episode 76. Excited to be here. Thanks for joining us, guys. We're going to just jump right into some video game news right away. It's been a pretty slow week. Everything's ramping up. In a week and a half, we're going to have Gamescom. So everybody's kind of waiting for that. Gamescom, yeah. So everybody's kind of waiting for that to blow their load, as you would say. Uh,
Oh my god, dude.
what's
That's
some big news? What, man? What?
Jesus. No, that's fine. No,
Yeah,
just say what you want to say.
you're making it weird, man. Don't make it weird.
You're making it weird.
But yeah, we're gonna start off with some THQ. THQ recently did a digital showcase, showed off some footage and trailers for a bunch of their games that they're working on. We have some Alone in the Dark footage. We have some South Park Snow Day. We have some Outcast: A New Beginning. We have Recreation, which is a racing slash building game. Titan Quest 2, Trine 5, A Clockwork Conspiracy, got the 1 remake, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin officially announced. From this showcase, really small showcase. Obviously, THQ, big developer known for a lot of different titles such as Saints Row and other titles which I can't remember right now. It's funny 'cause-
Darksiders.
yeah, Darksiders. We just talked about this and I can't remember. This is how much we know about THQ, but they do put out some bangers every now and then. And obviously with this, they wanted to show their future. Alone in the Dark being a big franchise that they are remaking, and it's going to have David Harbour in there, which is pretty cool. And then you also have South Park Snow Day, which I think going off of the success off the last one, which is a pure RPG. This one, they're kind of shifting the tone, and it's going to be a co-op multiplayer. It looks to be like an action game where you'll be able to fight in big maps. It to me, it looked like it looked a little bit like Minecraft Legends. If you've seen gameplay from that, where you can jump in with your friends and just go through the level, beating stuff up, and upgrading your stuff and just upgrading your characters, getting weapons and all that stuff. So it looks pretty interesting. And then the other big news out of this one, I think, was the official announcement of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. If you've been with us, we've discussed about this before in a previous episode where I believe Peacock. I believe it was the Peacock CEO kind of casually announced that they were working on a Last Ronin game. And this is the official first announcement that the game is in development. They showed a little teaser trailer with nothing, obviously no gameplay because it is in the early stages. But this is the right time. I think right now with the hype and success of Mutant Mayhem, and then them talking about making a sequel and obviously a TV show, a new Turtles TV show. There's no better time, I would say, to kind of announce this, and especially with just how well known as a franchise the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is. So, unfortunately, because there is no gameplay and because it's so early in development, we don't really see a lot. But from what we've heard, it looks like they are looking to kind of make it very Batman-esque, have that kind of fighting system, kind of that hardcore gritty thing. And we'll have to see how well that plays out. Obviously, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rated T for teens. We wanted to be mature enough to tackle certain topics, but also fun. And they're teenagers. Well, I don't know at this point if they're teenagers, but we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Could be older. They might be old enough to drink now.
Yeah, they're going through a midlife crisis. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles midlife crisis. What are your thoughts on the showcase and what games? Anything pops out
Yeah,
to
I
you?
mean, I think kind of had to do this because I think it's coming out of just like all the stuff going on at summer, and then in advance of Gamescom, where I think like there's just going to be like a ton of new stuff coming. So I think they kind of had to like create some breathing room for themselves because they're a people know THQ, but I think generally speaking they're kind of like on the smaller side. So I think they would just kind of get drowned out by all the stuff happening at Gamescom. So I think it makes sense that they would try to do something around now. I don't like none of the stuff kind of jumps out at me. I think I never got into it, but I do know the last South Park game. Like I'm like I appreciate South Park for what it is, but I'm not like this diehard South Park fan. But I did like what they did with the RPG game. I think it was called Fractured Butthole,
Well, was it?
which is kind of funny.
Which one was the Stick of Truth?
Uh
I think it
oh
was.
yeah, what is it? Was that the Stick of Truth? It was Stick of Truth the RPG, and then what was Fractured? But was that the sequel? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Okay. So this would be the third one. Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay,
think
okay. So
Fractured Butthole is the second one.
I mean, I definitely know that's the title because it's so funny. He really wanted butthole in the title, but they wouldn't let him do that, so they just kind of did the play on words approach. So
Yeah.
I admire that.
Just go around it, baby.
Yeah. So it's like maybe I'll check that out at some point, but other than that, like I think Alone in the Dark, Titan Quest, Gothic, like I think a lot of those. I think they have audiences. I think people are probably pretty excited to see, whether it's a new entry or kind of like a remake of those IPs. But for me, it's don't really care too much and didn't really see anything to get me excited about it. So it's the Last Ronin, and because I'm a fan of the Turtles. I'm excited to see a take. I didn't read The Last Ronin. I think you did actually, right?
No, I know of it.
Oh, you
Yeah,
just know
yeah.
of
I
it.
haven't read it myself, but it's in there. It's in the list.
Yeah, it's okay. So I haven't read it. I think it's an interesting concept, and yeah, excited to see what a game could look like. I think just conceptually, all the ingredients are there for it to be like a really great game concept. I actually just had to look this up. I was wondering who's going to develop this from THQ's bench, and it seems like it's going to be the team who did the Destroy All Humans game, which I'm like, I don't know if that gives me a ton of confidence that they're going to like land a gritty action, basically like if they're to copy and paste the Arkham, some version of the Arkham combat system with that kind of tone and whatever. Like I don't know. So like I don't get like again a ton of confidence that that's going to be a good match, but maybe they can prove me wrong.
Yeah, it's like you said, very interesting that that they had to kind of get this out before Gamescom and the big publishers, the big dogs, the big developers come out there with swinging with all their AAA stuff, and you can see from the titles that the really only AAA one that you could say would be the Last Ronin, and everything else is kind of like. I wouldn't say indie because it's not fully indie, but they're not going to be huge games. Obviously, you have Trine and South Park and Recreation, all that stuff. They look to be smaller games, so something to give people thought, but nothing really to drive home, especially when you don't have anything to show for your big title that you were announcing during this. So we'll see. Hopefully, we get a lot more information in the future. I am interested to see what path they're going to take, especially for an unproven, not unproven, but a developer that you wouldn't think you would say matches up with what you would expect from the game. So it'll be interesting to see as the development goes forward on that, how they're handling it and how it looks down the road. All right, next big news we want to talk about is Rockstar. They recently did their earnings call, which obviously everybody's been waiting for news on GTA 6, which they kind of said that they're projecting big earnings, obviously, in fiscal year, I believe, 2024 to 25. So that's like or first quarter, something like that. Basically next year, after March. So it looks like for all intents and purposes, that's when GTA 6 will most likely be released. They also talked about the release of Red Dead Redemption for the Switch and the PS4. Surprise, surprise! That's the big Red Dead Redemption that everybody was waiting for. That everybody thought was gonna be a remaster of Part One for newer consoles and PCs, which definitely I feel like everybody's super angry about that. But I think the biggest thing that they announced at this is that they acquired the roleplay community. Let me see the name of it. I forget the name of it. They acquired the role play community, cfx.re, which is a big role play community. That deals with, obviously, if you're not familiar, there's this big communities in GTA and Red Dead as well, where you can basically do like role play as your character. I know a lot of people. I've seen videos like people role playing as cops in GTA Online, and that's kind of funny and stuff like that. But it's a very interesting news, just because Rockstar's stance from a couple years ago was that the modding community was basically piracy, and they were totally against them doing anything in their game. But they've done a complete 180 to completely switch their stance on it, obviously acquiring the community and looking forward to the future of GTA 5 as it is now, and GTA 6 whenever that comes out, and Red Dead as well, to kind of partner with the community and just have those assets available and just do way more for the community to drive the popularity of the game. I think it's amazing. We see it a lot now with Fortnite working with a lot of the creators and doing their concerts and creator specific skins bundles and all that stuff. And you see it now with this. Rockstar's definitely pushing. They're always usually ahead of the curve, even if they weren't on this. I think it's very interesting. I can totally see where this is going to work. It's always fascinating. You live your real life and then you go in and you're living a second life as something else on these type of games. So it's very interesting to see, and it's going to be interesting to see in terms of the future of GTA 6 and how they will be able to incorporate this, especially now that they have the backing of Rockstar, and what this will mean for the future content creators and developers in future games. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's super super smart. I think so I haven't personally played or done any role playing within Grand Theft Auto 5, but I do know there's a big audience for it and a big appetite for that type of content. I think I don't watch or follow any streamers who like exclusively do Grand Theft Auto role playing, but like a lot of big streamers that I follow, they'll like mess around it every once in a while, and people seem to enjoy it. So I know there's certainly a big streamer community out there of people who just do this, and people watch them play it. So it's definitely a thing. It's been growing over several years. So I think Take-Two has just kind of observed that, or Rockstar has observed that trend, and they're just trying to, I think, probably get ahead of like, okay, is this something that someone's gonna like create these mods for Grand Theft Auto 6? Like, do we just let that happen, or do we actually just integrate it natively into the game and try to actually capture that demand for ourselves and figure out if there's a way to monetize that in some way? So I think it's super smart. They could either just build it themselves, or which would take time and effort to figure out how to do that at the cost of like potentially upsetting the existing kind of community and tool sets. So I think there's a lot of reasons why they would kind of do like an acqui-hire and get the people that have been focusing on this for quite some time. I think Valve has had a lot of success with these types of acquisitions where there's these big mod communities for their games, and it's like, yeah, let's just make it official. Like I think that's basically Dota. That's probably the biggest one, but so yeah, I think there's good precedent of these types of acquisitions playing out. And yeah, I think you know maybe looking to Final Fantasy 14 as like that's the MMO that I've spent the most amount of time in. I know there's also like a huge role playing community within Final Fantasy, so I can like already just kind of see Rockstar just trying to like, not that they're going to make Grand Theft Auto 6 like a full blown MMO, but I think with these types of experiences, you can kind of build a version of those experiences, and I think Rockstar is always going to figure out ways to get people to engage with their games. So again, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's smart. I don't know how long. I think it's probably going to be pretty far off before we see any like results from this. But I think again, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's insane. Obviously, with GTA Online being the juggernaut that it is, like it's GTA itself just keeps selling and selling copies, and then like I bought GTA 5. I meant GTA 5. I bought GTA 5 and played it enough, but never really dug into the online community. But I know it was really well done. It's always getting updated. It's a thriving community. There's so many people doing so many different things with the role playing and just being online all the time and the events that they have and all that stuff. So it's definitely very interesting. And Rockstar themselves, they when they see an opportunity, they seize it. Obviously, with this one, it's a good way to get the community involved, especially because with these type of games, you definitely want to have as big of a community influence as you can, because that'll drive it enough, well enough, even during its slow time. So I think this is great. And this for itself, like it's totally different than anything else. I think just because with Fortnite and other communities like that, where you have modding or where you have such an input from your community, it's a whole other thing. I would say it's just so different, because it's like the metaverse. I would say this is the closest thing, if you could say. Me, I've been a big anti-metaverse guy, but I think this kind of is the closest thing, just because.
Metaverse. I
Yeah,
haven't heard that term in a while.
yeah. I think people have been wanting to. That's the whole concept of the metaverse, where you can live different lives in different worlds or whatever. And I think this is the best example of it. Facebook is obviously not doing it well with their whole meta thing, and Fortnite obviously hasn't really been pushing it as much as they were talking about it before, even though there's rumors of their Lego collab coming up in the next season, and we'll see how that goes. But I think this is the closest thing, I would say, to a metaverse, where people are actually engaged in it and doing things where it doesn't feel like, oh, you just an avatar type of thing. So will be interesting to see going forward in the future. All right, next topic we're going to talk about is patents. So Nintendo filed a patent for certain gameplay mechanics out of Tears in the Kingdom, which is very interesting. We thought we want to talk about it just because seeing this, especially coming from a video game developer, so especially somebody as stringent as Nintendo is with their lawsuits and stuff like that, very interesting for the gaming community. Obviously, there's different mechanics that go into video games and developing video games and the mechanics of certain games. And the closest one that comes to mind, obviously, would be Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, which had their own Nemesis system, which got patented in itself until 2035, which was such a unique system. And obviously with the patents, that means you can't use them in other video games, or other developers can't really make their own version. So we want to talk about this just in terms of how, like, on my end, I think it just kind of stuns creativity, if I could put it that way. Obviously, we want innovation in games. We want certain games to do things. And also, I think it drives games when you see a mechanic in a game, and then you see it in other games where maybe they do it just as well, or they bring it up a notch and do it way better. Speaking of Batman, the Arkham, I think, fighting system has been used in so many games since then that it's worked so well. You can also see like the Elder Scrolls and Skyrim dialogue system and the choices, and Mass Effect, how that's been used so well and taken to new heights with a bunch of new games. So it's very interesting that Nintendo's kind of filing for these patents to kind of put certain gameplay mechanics where other developers can't use it. It's going to be interesting. It's not heavy gameplay mechanics. It's more like movement and stuff like that. But this does kind of set a precedent for a lot of video games going forward. What do you think of this? Do you think this is going to stunt the growth of video games? Or Nintendo's going to be suing everybody? Don't sue us, Nintendo.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think they just applied for the patents. I don't think they actually got the patents, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I know. So
they take a while to
gotta
pass,
like,
but it's a
yeah, I
feature,
gotta
man.
look into it tomorrow. Yeah, no, and I think I don't love it, particularly because like I think Tears of the Kingdom does a lot of cool things well, and like a very kind of interesting package, but there's nothing that like crazy in it. Like it's just sticking stuff together, or you know what I mean? Like it's like fundamentally it's just like putting objects together and building stuff. Like I don't think that's something that should be patented and controlled by one publisher. That like literally no other game can do that without getting approval or paying like royalties back to the original. So I think it's a real slippery slope. And I think something that would be ultimately bad for the games industry. If because it basically sets like a like a domino effect of like, okay, well, if Nintendo's doing that, then I think every publisher is going to be looking at their games and be like, okay, well, we actually need to like start getting way more defensive around anything remotely proprietary around game mechanics and patenting them, and then it becomes like a war game of people being like, okay, well, if you want to do that, we have the patent, you got to go through us, and it's just not going to be a good thing. And I think yeah, like that, like the nemesis mechanic, it's like cool. There's a reason that doesn't show up in games, and it's because of that patent. And you can kind of do like an analysis in your head of like, okay, well, what game out there could have benefited from that system if there wasn't a patent. Because I'm sure that from just like a game developer's perspective, I'm sure like a game developer played that game and it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me see if there's like a way that I can like take it and like make it my own, or make certain modifications, or even just put a version of that system into my game, which is completely different from Shadow of Mordor. But they can't do that because of the patent. So I don't know. I feel like it's silly. I think so. I'm not surprised Nintendo's doing it because that's just like a very Nintendo thing. But I think it's a shitty thing for game developers.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that Nintendo's doing it by way of patent, because it's a patent, like you're putting a lock on it. I'm not surprised that Nintendo is using lawyers, which is the other thing. But
Yeah.
with the Nemesis system, it's a very sad thing. Obviously, like they haven't even used it. It's not like they're using it on other things, which is the other sad part about it. It's patented until I believe 2035, so that means no other game will be able to use it, and it's just sad because it is an intriguing system. It's very complicated. I hope whoever designed that system got some money out of it at least, which they probably didn't because they were just working for a company. But hopefully we don't see any more of these type of things going forward in the future, because like I said, I feel like it really stunts the growth of video games, and especially when in this day and age we kind of live in a world of video games that kind of take stuff from other games to improve them, and
Yeah.
some will do it right, some will do it wrong, but it's how the world works. You just kind of keep improving on it. All right, next bit of news we want to talk about is a new Commander Zavala, and that's a little bit more for the Destiny fans out there. I know Nick actually put this in the notes, which was very surprising. I was gonna talk about it.
It's not because I'm a Destiny fan.
Yeah.
It's because I'm a Keith David fan.
Yeah, we're both Keith David fans. As we talked about before on the podcast, Lance Reddick passed away a couple months back. And he was a big Destiny player. He obviously voiced Commander Zavala, one of the main characters in the game. He loved the game. He was also a very prolific movie and TV actor, and voice actor as well. And with his passing, it's big shoes to fill in the Destiny universe. But I think they found the right person to fill him. Keith David, for those unknown, he's a big also movie and TV actor, but he's also done a lot of voice work with video games and TV shows, mostly known from playing Goliath in Gargoyles, which I was a big fan of in the 90s, growing up in the 90s. And he sent a little message on Twitter just saying how grateful he is for the opportunity, and he knows how much Lance Reddick loved the role, and he hopes to do justice by him. So I think kudos to Bungie for picking picking him as the right person to kind of continue the legacy of Commander Zavala. He'll be doing the voice work for the Final Shape expansion, which will be releasing early next year, and we'll hear more out on August 22nd. Will this get you interested in playing Destiny now that Keith David is voicing Commander Zavala?
Still no, but I think it was good. It was a good
Damn.
pick. Good pick for Bungie. To think of like who could replace Lance Reddick. I think there's not that many options, and I think Keith David's a good pick, and I think Bungie's kind of managed the situation. It's a tough situation to have to deal with, but I think they managed it very well. So I think it's a good outcome. Because I think it's like, okay, what do we do? Do we get rid of the character now because of the voice actor? So it's kind of a sensitive and tricky issue, but I think this is the best possible outcome given the situation. And yeah, well, I'll look forward to hearing. I can just like watch a YouTube video of his voice performance, and that'll be sufficient for me.
Yeah, not playing the game at all.
No, yeah, I can't play the game. But yeah, no, I think not to go too deep, but I think Keith David might have been the first guy. So I have like a fascination with voice actors. So I generally know just a lot of voice actors and can almost immediately tell who's playing who and things like that. And I think my fascination with voice acting actually started with Keith David as Goliath, because I love the Gargoyle show, and I just thought it was like such a cool voice. And when I started like recognizing his voice and like other things, I was like, oh my god, like that's Goliath. Like what? Like when I was a kid, that was a really long time ago. It wasn't like it wasn't last year. It was like when I was in pretty young. So I just remember it being like such a cool thing that this guy with this like really iconic voice is doing all these things, and so.
Yeah, I love his voice. It's so unique, and like you said, you kind of recognize it instantly when you hear it. And he's been in so many good movies and TV shows. I can remember him from The Thing, and he was awesome in that. I just recently watched The Nice Guys, and he was in that too. So it's cool that they picked him. And obviously with Destiny, like when Destiny started, it had such heavy and recognizable voice actors, because I don't know if you remember, Peter Dinklage was the voice of Ghost, which
everyone loved that.
Yeah, he phoned it in on that one. But obviously Lance Reddick,
that was his like he had just like Game of Thrones, right? Or was it was like just after Game of Thrones, I think he got
like
that role?
the first like second season of Game of Thrones, when the popularity was like at its peak kind of thing.
Yeah. And then people are like, "Oh my god!" Like geeking out about, "Oh, it's Peter," and then he's just like,
he phoned it in,
phoned in.
Yeah, and then obviously Nathan Fillion and Gina Torres also do voice work, which now it's been kind of reduced. It's not the big heavy names. Nathan Fillion, his character died, so they didn't need him anymore, even though he's coming back. And Gina Torres moved on. They got a new voice actress for her, which sounds like her, but it's still good. So it's good to see them still pursuing this. Obviously, he's worked with them before, which is great. In Halo 2, he played Arbiter. So it's good to see that the relationship is there, and he's used to this. So I think it's a good replacement. I think he'll do a fine job, and can't wait to hear him. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is, again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So one big thing, obviously, going back to last week, big Capcom Cup. Capcom Cup, Big Evo tournament. Obviously, we finished watching it. For those that didn't, amazing tournament. The finals were great. Almost got a reset from the loser. Menardi, unfortunately, who was my pick, did not win. The one who won was Angry Bird, deservedly so. I think he did great. Great output by Ken. One of the best Kens I've ever seen, even better than Nick, who only likes to throw all the time. But a big announcement coming out of that was that they were doing a collaboration with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where you'll be able to get all the costumes for Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael. You'll be able to get turtle costumes, as long as well as other turtle related stuff, which was pretty cool. Only thing they didn't announce was the price, and then came as a big shock when the costumes got released. But essentially, you got to pay $15 for each costume you would get, which in this day and age, that's kind of ludicrous, especially for a costume that there's no differentiators, just the same costume with different colors for the bandanas and the belts. So it's kind of insane. I think, for me at least, like after all the goodwill that you know I have for Capcom and how great Street Fighter 6 is, I think this is kind of outrageous. Not that I've been buying any of the costumes or anything like that. I've unlocked a couple alternates for some characters by playing the story mode, and I know you can purchase the alternate costumes if you spend 50 fighter coins, but these costumes are 250 fighter coins, which is kind of insane. It's just weird. It's weird. Weird pricing, just seeing how everything else is around these days. And I can totally see the community being super upset because Bungie just recently had its own, uproar over Eververse pricing and all that stuff. Your thoughts on this? Are you mad at Capcom?
I wouldn't say I'm mad. It's not that surprising. It's a licensed property that's commanding, I think, big dollars. So I think positioning it as like a premium skin is not surprising. I am like $15 is a lot. Like I think 5 to 10 with like some sort of discount if you get it like as a bundle.
I would pay easily $20 for all four.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so $60 for all four. I think that's immediately the math everyone does is just like, what? Like that's the price of the game basically for these four, and it's like not even full characters, right? It's just like a cosmetic for your whatever avatar. And I think there's like a parallel to in Smash they would do this, right? Where like it wouldn't be like a full blown character. It would just be like a skin for like the Mii character. So I would need to like go back and check what the pricing for that was, but it wasn't $15. I am pretty sure about that. So I don't know. It's kind of a bummer. It definitely turned me off from it. Like earlier in the episode, I mentioned being a big Turtles guy. So you think, oh, there's turtle stuff now in one of my favorite games, so I'm going to buy it. But that's not the case. So maybe it'll be discounted at some point down the road, and I'll check it out. But yeah, that was pretty rough. And maybe it's like they had to have known, right? Because they had the trailer or whatever. They decided to like not show the pricing. So if you're like scared of showing the pricing and the marketing trailer, like maybe that's a signal that you're going for the cash grab too much, and you're probably going to upset fans. So I'll be curious. I don't think we'll get any hard data on it, but I wonder if we'll kind of hear from like word of mouth as well as just whether people are actually in the battle hub using these skins at all. Like if we can get kind of some sense of whether people are actually buying this, or it could be the case that Capcom's like, we're going to charge whatever we want for these things because we know people are going to buy them, and that's the way the game is played. But I don't know. I do feel like that's just too high of a price, and people are going to like opt out of it and just wait for it either to be cheaper or just never buy it.
And that's the other insane part, that it's not even for your Street Fighter characters, it's for your avatar, which, I don't really care about my avatar that much. I think if you play the World Tour mode, you get enough different costume options where you could just, customize your avatar into crazy things. But it does give me pause to kind of, think about the future. And we've seen some concept art for a lot of the characters' future costumes, and they look pretty cool, and we wouldn't mind spending money on it. But if it's something like this where it's going to be like $15 for each character costume, it's gonna be insane because they look good, but honestly, like you gotta, work on the pricing. Like, don't gouge my eyes out on this.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All
So
right.
yeah, hopefully they can kind of correct, because I'm imagining they're going to do a lot more of these kind of IP crossover events, where they, they're not going to do a full blown character, but they just want to like get skins and cosmetics that people can put on their avatar. So they're going to do more of this stuff, but I hope they just kind of modify the pricing, because it's just that's a bit much.
Yeah, especially because they're known for doing this with obviously Monster Hunter, all the Resident Evil games where you could get different costumes. The new game Exo Primal where you could get Ryu and Ken. So hopefully they do more goodwill to the gamers. All right, so that does it for all the news we wanted to discuss for the weeks. We're gonna move into some closing thoughts. I'll start it off as usual. Haven't been playing a lot of games, but surprisingly, I didn't realize that Atlas Fallen was releasing this week, and it did. And I purchased it. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely different from the previous Deck 13, who are the developers. It's definitely different from the previous game, The Surge, and the original Lords of the Fallen, in terms of it's not very Souls-like. It's more of like an action combat. Obviously, there's still some of that mechanic of you want to be dodging and avoiding damage and all that stuff. But I don't think it's too hard. It's more action-based. I'm enjoying the crafting that they got, where you can craft different power-ups, and the fighting system that it has, where the more damage you do, the more powerful your attacks become, and they kind of change to do more damage, but also you take more damage because you're doing more damage. So that's pretty interesting mechanic. And the traversing the world, the sand world, is pretty cool. And it's got a little bit of the Zelda. What is it? The Red Moon? Is it the Red Moon that Zelda does? When like the world turns red or whatever. In Breath
What
of
is
the
that
Wild.
called?
Yeah, like the Red Moon thing.
Yeah, the Red Moon.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's
Let's
got,
stick with Red Moon.
yeah, it's got like a mechanic like that, where there's this big enemy called the Watcher that's just like watching you. It's a big totem in the sky, and every now and then he'll lock eyes on you or whatever, and then the enemies become stronger, obviously. And
It's Blood Moon.
the Blood Moon, the Red Moon, it's all the same.
Yeah, I looked it up. I didn't remember that.
Yeah. You're such a fake Zelda person, but whatever. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting game. So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, they're not the ones that are developing the new Lords of the Fallen, which is more Souls-like, that comes out in October. So definitely interesting to see the difference in that. This is definitely not a game you would enjoy, I think. I think we know our tendencies for what games we like to play and what we want out of the games. I don't think you would enjoy it. Not that it's a bad game, but it's not your type of game. It's definitely not Souls, and I think it's just too much action and collecting, which that's right up my alley. So
that's a Hugo delight.
yeah, I'm already collecting stuff, bro. So much collecting. And then in terms of TVs and movies, I watched No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, her foray into comedy, which she hadn't done in a while. Pretty funny movie, but definitely very raunchy. There's a scene in there where she's fighting some people in the nude, which was funny. And it's a little bit of like Superbad and Hangover type comedy, but also very 90s, where it's like she plays a girl that needs a car because she needs to Uber, and some parents kind of hire her to go out with their son. I'm doing quotations on this for those who are on audio. Hire her to go out with their son, so and they'll give her a car, and stuff ensues. But it's pretty funny show. And then that, and obviously the end of Evo was amazing. Loved watching all that. It was super hyped. Sad that we weren't there. And we were talking earlier about Gamers 8, which was this Saudi invitational that they did, and we finished watching it, and Kakeru won over Angry Bird, who had won Evo, the Evo tournament. So that was pretty interesting. It was definitely a good invitational. Obviously a lot of money exchanging hands there, which Saudi government, we don't condone your practices, but if you want to throw some money our way, we condone that. What have you been up to?
Just a plus one to the fighting game competitions. Like it's been a great couple weeks of. Well, I'll get into the game side, but basically I've been playing games on monitor one while watching a lot of different fighting game streams on monitor two. So it's been
No better way to do it, baby.
it's been a great week or two for content consumption. Yeah, the tournaments have been awesome. Like the Evo top 6 was. I mean, if I were to like just off the top of my head list like who would I want to see in top 6, like I probably would have named like at least 5 of those people. I would have been like, I want to see those people in the top 6. So, which was like not. I think it was right before COVID when I went to Evo. The top 8 was like I was very disappointed in. Like I think there's maybe one. I think it might have been like Big Bird was in it, but like everyone else, I just like didn't really care for. So, so I was thankful for a very hype top 6 in Street Fighter. I think I'd been watching a lot of Street Fighter 6 streams, but this was I think the biggest, the first big Street Fighter 6 tournament since the game's come out. It's only been out a few months at this point, but the first big one, and like it's just so fun to watch. I think like anyone, even if you're like not super in the weeds on like the technical aspect of the game, including myself, like I'm very much a filthy casual, but it's just fun to watch, man. Like so I'm very very happy about how the game's translated to the competitive scene and watching tournaments and things like that. So very much looking forward to Capcom Cup and just watching other Street Fighter 6 competitions. So
Yeah, and the reception from Street Fighter 526 has been insane. Obviously, there was a lot of discourse at the beginning, early days of Street Fighter 5 with how much the community liked. But this one, just right off the gate, has been great. Big turnouts to these events. I think it was the biggest, tournament that any fighting tournament that they've had, and they got the keys to the city or whatever. They declared Evo Day. It was just an amazing fucking thing. So it's good.
That was so funny. They're like, we're declaring this like they announced that they're moving the date
August 6th,
from August to
Evo
July,
Day, and then next
like,
year
so,
it's July. What the fuck?
I feel like the timing of the sequencing of events might have been a little bit more thought out, but either way, it's cool. Like I think that's just like an indicator of the growth in fighting games and Evo and what it means. So I thought that was a cool moment for sure. Like really my only gripe, which I think I don't know if I'm sending mixed messages or whatever, but like I just hate watching Blanca. So like it's just not. So that's my only real gripe right now with like the high level play is just like I feel like Blanca's just such like a trash character and.
Well, he's not a trash character. You just hate watching him. But
I just don't enjoy. Yeah, like I just don't enjoy watching. Like,
but let me just say something real quick. If you realize it, the way you hate Blanca watching is the way you play because all you do is throw. So it's like trash gameplay. Watching trash.
So it
works.
But that's fine. That's fine if it's me playing against my friends. But like when I'm trying to watch like high level competitors, like it's just so I think it's something again because the game's new. I think people are just kind of scumming it with Blanca, and people will figure out how to deal with it eventually. But
well, you can't say scumming it because it's only one player doing it competitively. Like nobody else is using Blanca besides Menard, and he only pulls him out when it's like a bad matchup to Luke.
Yeah. Either way, it's the funniest thing because he's like scumming it up.
It's the funniest thing because he's got like the most basic normal guy, which is Luke, who is your starting guy. Who, it's the one that Capcom basically picked to be their main character for this new generation. And then you have Scummy Blanca.
Yeah. Dude, so when Mena was doing that, he was going back and forth between Luke and Blanca, even in like the same matches. or like he was playing, just one player and was just trying to figure out kind of the right counter pick. And so like when he was playing Luke, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like I don't like Luke either, but it was still fun to watch. But just something about watching Blanca just upsets me. And uh, so again, I just want to throw that out there. That's my only real gripe with watching Street Fighter 6. But other than that, like it's been awesome. So I've been really enjoying that. Uh, and then in terms of what's been on Monitor One, it's really just a continuation of last week. So I've been playing a ton of Baldur's Gate. Uh,
Yeah, you've really been
it's
into the
it's
Baldur's Gate,
it's
man.
it's awesome. It's awesome. I don't know if I have too much more to add versus last week. The new thing was playing it multiplayer for the first time. So we actually, for game night, it happened to just be people who had Baldur's Gate. So that's my first ever time playing this type of game in a multiplayer setting. And I'm not an expert in the game, but I think you pretty much have to basically start a multiplayer campaign from scratch. So it's like I've been playing the game single player, wanted to play it multiplayer, had to basically start a multiplayer campaign from scratch, create new characters. So two of us, so it's me and two other people, had to like go through the character creator to get like, so it's cool, like it's pretty
That sounds
fun.
like
And then
a good experience.
yeah, and then it's just very seamless with how they incorporated, like if someone interacts with an NPC to trigger a dialogue sequence, you can all kind of like go to it and watch it and vote on dialogue choices. And so it's super impressive. So I think that's like, I guess it makes sense. Like I'm not a big D&D person, but like I totally got it. Like it was maybe not when I first heard about it, I just kind of assumed that we could just kind of like take a character, kind of more like Diablo, I guess, where it's like, hey, just kind of like jumping in and out of multiplayer sessions. And I think I don't think you can do that. I think it's more like this dedicated multiplayer campaign. So, but now that I've done it, it makes complete sense and is like awesome. And it's really just a question of, can you actually get the same people together that often? Because it's
Yeah,
a
that's
huge game.
yeah.
so so that's the chat. That's
Because you
the
can't get
the
a you basically can't like just be like, hey, let's us two, because this person can't make it, and then they can jump
I don't
back in.
know. We got to figure it out. Like maybe I think like some of us can continue playing, and then the other person will just like level up, or I don't know. We got to get into it, but
Did you pick another bard? Because originally I know you're
I did. I'm a paladin now,
okay. How's that
so yeah.
feeling? How's the different class feel?
We, I mean, we played for a few hours, but like we didn't really do that much. So I
I
didn't
mean, with
really
the
get in
character creation and then doing all that and
character
getting
creations and then
together.
the intro, and then so
Maybe
we didn't get
next
it.
week, this week.
Yeah, I'll have better. Yeah, I didn't really get a ton of time to actually get into all the nuances of the class. So maybe next week or in the coming weeks, I'll have more impressions on that class. Um, but either way, it was just a really fun time experimenting with the multiplayer. But I did spend most of my time on single player and putting a lot of time into that as the bard. And it's just I'm just kind of taking my time, going through all the different scenarios, being a wily bard,
and
trolling people.
you said game of the year now. That those are some big words coming from you because you
It
literally
is my
messaged game of the year.
it is my current game of the year. There's a lot more good stuff coming out the rest of the year, but I think it's my current game of the year. I don't know what I mean. It's Tears of the Kingdom. Uh, I loved Resident Evil 4, so I think that'll be, you know, I think it's an incredible game. I think because it's a remake, that'll kind of work against it in terms of it being like, game of the year. But I really enjoyed my time with RU4. I don't know. So yeah, I think it's definitely my current game of the year. It's incredible.
Yeah,
It's got it's it.
the only thing I see competing with it would be Starfield, obviously, but nobody's getting review copies for that, so we don't know how that's going to do. And then Spider-Man, but I think the narrative on Spider-Man doesn't seem to. Well, obviously, it's not going to be as expansive as the narrative on this. So I think this definitely takes a cake with what you could do, too. So you might be right. You might be right.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think Spider-Man is going to be an incredible game. It's just I don't know if it's going to be at the same level as Baldur's Gate. And then Final Fantasy 16, which I think a lot of people are still very positive on. I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm
a lot of people that are not you. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the outlier on that one. But I think Final Fantasy 16 will definitely be in the mix, more broadly speaking. But yeah, it's just I don't know if I have too much more to add other than I'm not a big player of those types of games, and the fact that this game has successfully pulled me in, I think that says a lot.
Yeah, next thing you know, you're gonna be telling me you want to do some D&D campaigns or something.
Nah, I'm not. No, this feels right for me. It's like it's completely virtual. They do a lot of the heavy lifting of all the stuff the dungeon master would be doing. So
there's stuff that does that. You could do stuff like that online where you don't have to do anything. It's all digital.
No. This is good. This is good. This feels right. So yeah, and it's been one of those. I think I've mentioned this last week where, and this isn't the only game. I think maybe Elden Ring is another one where you log into the game and then just 5 hours, 6 hours go by, and you're just like,
the best type of games. Yeah.
Whoa, what just happened? So this is definitely one of those types of games. So I've actually had to now that I know that that's what happens, I kind of need to plan my day around, okay, when do I actually get into the game, because the day is basically over once I start playing. So I need to be pretty thoughtful around when I actually start playing it.
Man, that definitely does sound like game of the year. So it'll be interesting when we make our predictions at the end of the year how this will roll.
Oh, the other Armored Core. I feel like Armored Core is gonna be. It's not gonna be as grandiose as that, but I do feel like there's still an opportunity for that just to be like a. It's more arcadey or whatever, but
yeah,
I don't think that necessarily. Doesn't mean that's a contender for being game of the year.
Yeah, with From Software's pedigree, I can definitely see it kind of sneaking in where it might surprise a lot of people. And it's happened before where other games people weren't expecting have taken over, like Hades and stuff like that. So I think it could definitely be done. Very interesting to end the year. This is a big year for video games, and we're just rolling along. September's coming, and it's going to be huge. All right, so that does it for us. Thanks for joining us, guys. Make sure you guys are checking our website out, pressingbuttons.gg. You can find all the links to all our channels, especially our Discord channel. We're all there. We're a big, thriving, growing community of Pressing Buttons. Make sure you guys are joining us. Make sure you guys are following us. And, send us any messages if you want us to improve things, anything you feel like, any suggestions, any hate. Send some hate. We love some hate. We love haters, because that means we're doing something good if we have haters.
Don't we have a suggestions box?
Yeah, we do have a suggestions box.
Do we? Okay.
Not that
I was joking. Right.
Not that people are suggesting things. They have suggested things, but if you have hate,
people suggest. Oh, we do actually have one. Yeah, people suggest stuff all the time, but it's mainly.
Shout outs to Felix. I think Felix is.
It's like I know everything that's wrong with the podcast already. I don't need other people to tell me that.
That's what makes it so unique. Yeah. So the more haters we have, that means we're doing something good.
Okay.
So if you want to hate away. But thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you on next week's episode. I'm Hugo. Bye.
I'm Nick. Later.